fragrances that every woman needs to smell, just in general, period. So I've kind of put together some fragrances that I think are just so phenomenal, they're kind of necessary to know about and to smell. So one of the first ones that I think is just really, really great, and by the way, all the fragrances that I mentioned will be available in the Amazon associate links down in the description below. Oud Satin Mood. I love this one. I think it's probably one of the best fragrances I've ever smelled. It's a relatively simple fragrance. It is an oud fragrance, obviously, mixed with a rose note, and then there's some other, complementary notes in there, but mostly you're going to get the oud followed by the rose. And obviously oud being a very heavy, musky, woodsy note compared to the rose, which is more delicate, a little bit sweet, more natural, soft. Really, really good combination. Long-lasting, great performance, great projection, nice scent trail. It has all the bonuses that you could want from a fragrance like this. I think it's also really unique. There's not too many fragrances that, blend something really heavy like oud and then pair it with something light and more feminine like a rose note. So, again, I think it's just a really, really nice fragrance in general. I think it's a little bit more of a formal type of fragrance or a cold weather fragrance because it is pretty warm and on the heavier side. But it is unisex as well. It's a little bit more on the feminine side, but it is unisex. But yeah, really, really nice, smooth, warm type of fragrance. Really, really enjoyable. Now, the next one I just think is fun to wear. It's really just intriguing to wear, which is Cherry Punk from Room 1015. This is a pretty crazy fragrance. It is a cherry fragrance, obviously. When you first put it on, I think it's very, very similar to how cherry candy smells. When you get like some gummy candy, like cherry flavored, or even hard candy that's cherry flavored. Very similar to that. Very juicy cherry type of smell. But that only lasts for a little bit, and it immediately transforms into this very smoky, like warm, crackling kind of bonfire type of smell, which I think is really cool. I really enjoy that, because once it transforms into that more incensey, smoky type of fragrance, it still retains some of its cherry note, just more on a lesser scale, with a touch of sweetness. So that really, pairs nicely with the fiery smokiness paired with the sweetness. It's a very interesting mixture that you don't really expect. And again, it's just a fun fragrance to wear because it is extremely unique. I have not smelled anything remotely similar to Cherry Punk. Just a really nice, warm, nice cold weather type of fragrance. Now, moving on from that, I would say Instant Crush from Mancera is quite nice to wear as well. Now, I've compared it in the past to Baccarat Rouge 540, and I'm not exactly a huge fan of Baccarat Rouge, but Instant Crush takes everything good about Baccarat Rouge and leaves behind all the bad stuff. Instant Crush is really smooth. It's sweet without being too crazy sweet, which I appreciate. Because I'm not even a huge fan of sweet fragrances, but this does it really well. It's really refined, again, smooth, and quite strong, very surprisingly strong. It will last probably 8 hours, just on average. Very, very enjoyable to smell. I believe it's unisex, which is a nice bonus. But yeah, it's like the new and improved version of Baccarat Rouge, which is very nice. So those who enjoy Baccarat Rouge and want something a little bit different, but still very similar and just better, Instant Crush is your answer. Now, also from Mancera, I have to mention Red Tobacco. Red Tobacco is one of the best tobacco fragrances I've smelled. It's another one of those unisex options, and it's unique because some tobacco fragrances are really, really harsh. They're really kind of blunt and too rugged, but I would say Red Tobacco is actually a very smooth type of tobacco note. Plus, it has a little bit of sweetness. It has a vanilla note, which is quite strong, And I wouldn't say it's a super sugary, crazy vanilla note. It's just a nice little touch of sweet vanilla, which is very nice when you're pairing it with that strong tobacco note. It gives it a nice kind of push and pull in how it evolves on the skin. And it's just a more unique type of fragrance, which I enjoy. I always pair it up with Tobacco Color from Dior in terms of tobacco fragrances, because those two are some of my absolute favorites. But yeah, red tobacco, definitely really nice. Plus it lasts a very long time. Both the tobacco and the vanilla notes are very strong, and they'll probably last 8 hours on most people, if not a little bit longer. So again, just a really good choice if you're looking for something pretty strong and with a little hint of tobacco. Now the last one that I have to mention is a classic. And it's kind of fallen a little bit out of favor, mainly because it's so old. Shalimar from Guerlain, which is actually a 1920s type of fragrance, but I still think it holds up really, really well today. It is a very strong fragrance, so it's definitely not for everybody. More for those who are looking for something musky, smoky, and just heavy. It came out during a time when, the flappers were going out to the nightclubs, the cabarets. So, like I said, very smoky. A little bit of citrus in the beginning. Very resinous as well. It was designed to be more exotic, kind of reminiscent of the Far East, that sort of thing. But just an extremely, extremely attractive fragrance. It was designed to be very seductive while still being quite feminine. Now, it's not really sweet at all, which is a big departure compared to modern feminine fragrances. Again, it's more smoky and resinous, but still feminine, just more of a traditional sense of it, very, very powerful. And it is super long lasting, probably the most long lasting fragrance on this whole list. At least the Eau de Parfum, that's the one I've tried, the Eau de Parfum. I can't say about the Eau de Toilette. They're pretty similar though. But yeah, I would say longevity on average 8 hours minimum, probably more like 9 hours. And what I like about it is that even though it is a very strong, pretty bold fragrance, it does dry down to a nice powderiness. Not too delicate of a powderiness, but just a certain type of powderiness, complemented with that musk and the wood notes and the resins and the amber and all that. But definitely something to try out if you're looking for something very heavy, very seductive, and classic, But that is pretty much all I have to say for these, fragrances that every woman has to smell at some point. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.